Are you looking to become a writer? Have the next song of Ice and Fire, but perhaps won't take 50 years to finish it, lose focus like a fat kid in ADHD trapped in a Hostess factory when it hits TV? Perhaps it's the next great children's book. Those little jam-handed lunatics do love their pictures. If you're interested in being published, then Crapco's got the publishing arm for you. We here at Crapco have always supported the arts. We throw money, largely for tax purposes, at all sorts of things, and one of those things is supporting arts, like our yearly sidewalk chalk painting that we hold in the rainiest parts of Washington State outside of Seattle. 10 years of going, 10 years of cancellations. The kids love it. Or the local book fair, which, I'm told, millions of nerds, kids, love across the country. It's with this in mind that we happily introduce Crapco Publishing of the arts and other stuff. We'll edit, publish, and work with you, sorting through the garbage of the mind to find what'll make you the most money, and us the most money. With our generous 90% cut contract to a life of sequels, you'll be living the dream in no time. After all, doing what you like is like never having to work, which is why we don't pay you to actually work. Crapco Publishing. If you can imagine it, we can steal it.
You're listening to RPMMORadio.
Does internet porn know you're cheating on it?
Where entertainment and roleplay in MMORPGs have little hybrid mutant babies.
Make a note of this. Dishonor on you, dishonor on your cow, dishonor on your whole family.
And now, here's your hosts, Ashen Phoenix, Civ, Jazz, Strafae, and Yunfei.
Everybody off. We need to go on a quick adventure.
Hello, role players, and welcome to RPMMORadio, episode 99, just one short of 100. For those of you that are amazing at math like I am, author of your own destiny. I appreciate everybody for tuning in over at twitch.tv/RPMMORadio. I, of course, am your host, and with me today is the crew, Jazz, Sib, Strafae, Yunfei, and a special guest, Strafae's mom, Momma Direfere. I don't know if that's what we'll probably call her the whole time, but that's what he always refers to her as. So welcome. It's good to have you here.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah.
She is the mother of trolls. We love her all the
She
same.
is.
Yeah. So would you like
It's
me to...
always a good time when she'd show up.
Yes. You want me to call you Momma Direfere or just by your name? I guess I probably should have asked you that beforehand.
Well, my real name is Janice Ayers. I've been called different Chaladal, Chalise. I have been called Momma Direfere, or just Mama, or the Troll. I've even been accused of being a Vulcan and a Dark Elf, so you can take your pick.
Oh, Jazz, you
Forgot Romulan, but I digress.
I was going to say, you left one out.
The Romulans, those good for nothing Roms. Yeah. We'll just go with Momma Direfere then, because that's how Strafae always refers to you as, so we'll just stick with that. That is a laundry list of names, though.
I can feel the troll, though, because every now and then I get that one.
Well, she raised one, so yes.
She raised 3.
Yes.
Saying.
True.
But one is king among all. The eldest.
The eldest Gormal.
That's right.
We can't let him in the studio again, though, man. I don't have the same
they're
deterrent.
still picking maggots out of the
We
carpet
couldn't
from the last
get a
time.
whole hot Jessica, which means if he shows up, ain't nothing we can do to get him out from slime in the whole.
We got
entryway.
halflings we can throw at him.
That's true.
Yeah, nobody will miss them. They're not even real people. So, but no, she's we're happy to have her here because as it happens with a lot of role players, I don't know how many have wanted to write books and get published and this and that and the other thing, and it's always a good dream to have, but it's also not always the easiest thing to know where to even start. And as she has had a published book, Surviving the Waning, the Icing Wood Chronicles Book 1. So she's wrote an art by somebody I think we know too. Some Antoni Stogner, I think. I don't know. It sounds like a weirdo, but our very own
That guy sounds
Strafae.
weird. I don't know.
You know what? It's funny is I clicked on that and I remembered seeing other pictures that you've done, Strafae, and I was like, that is definitely his art style. Yep, I can see it.
That was back in my art school days for sure.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, but everybody has that. Like Yunfei, when Yunfei draws stuff, it's a style to it. There's just something about it's like handwriting. It really is. It's strange. I don't know. But then again, I guess writing styles do that
Pretty
too.
cool.
Yeah. Well, it's like we've had with Jazz when somebody comes in and their writing style is so similar. She's like, "That's so and so." Are you sure?
I know.
Yep.
She's like the master of that, by the way.
Oh yeah, she's very good. But no, I'm glad to have you here. We'll just go over a little bit of a couple things. First off, how's everyone doing? Have a good week. Is this Labor Day? Labor Day weekend?
This is Labor Day
It
weekend.
is. It is indeed.
Yeah.
This is the force you to take a day off and steal your PTO long weekend for me.
Right. Or
What?
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to take the day off. We don't have a choice. And then they charge me 8 hours of PTO out of my pool of PTO to pay for it. And I don't have a choice.
What? But that's the whole point of Labor Day is...
Yeah, I know, right? Ironic, right? They missed that point. I did try to make that at the last big team meeting, and they all looked at me very blankly. So it wasn't even getting... I was like, never mind. And I
This
sat back
is why
down.
communism fails every time. Right, Strafae?
That's right. Better dead than red.
That is awful. I mean, we get
That's
it off,
terrible,
but we pay for it in the fact that mail doesn't stop just because we're not there, and it's there waiting for us the next day.
Well, see, that's the thing I've made to people is that in the bigwigs, by making us take a day off, they are making, all the office people totally don't care if they get the day off. That's great. I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
But we're out in the field. And when we don't show up, our clients go
Without?
off kilter, and it takes a week to get them back.
Yeah.
in a
Well, yeah,
pattern
you're
again.
dealing with people. Mine's just garbage bills and Amazon packages.
But it's the same basic idea is that it doesn't stop just because I'm not there. And then I have to put fires out until it gets caught up again.
Yeah. Good.
But to answer your question, I don't know about you guys, but I had a tiring week and worked 2 11-hour shifts.
Ugh.
And even the shifts were regular were just like devoid of sleep. It was weird.
Yeah, I worked a long week too. It was
My
a little
week
more
was-
than normal 40.
My week was crap from the get-go. Monday,
Uh-oh.
I got to drive my little mail truck with no power steering to
Full
700
body workout.
boxes. Yeah.
Oh.
I was almost in tears by the time I got home. I went in the next day and was like, if the truck isn't fixed, I'm going home.
Yeah.
I can't do it again. I did it yesterday. I can't do it today. Nope.
Yeah.
I can do it.
And those mail trucks, the actual boxy woods you see, their axles in the front are shorter than the ones in the back so that we have better steering. We can make sharper turns. But without the power steering, that's a lot of work. And I think with the power steering being out, I think it was actually working against her. Like it wasn't just like the old 1960s, Chevrolet where, it was tough, but as long as you were moving, it steered just fine. This was like, yeah, I'm going to make you pay.
Oh, it was awful. I actually had to go to the chiropractor this week. And,
Ouch.
Yeah, because
Oh
I
my
was
goodness.
I was in so much pain. I was like, I can't figure Wednesday, I was like, I don't know why I'm hurting so bad. Why am I in so much pain? And I was like, oh, yeah. That stupid
No power
truck.
steering. Those
Yeah.
bitches.
Oh.
But no, they did fix it Tuesday. So the rest of the week got better, but it was so rough. At Monday, I just wanted to cry. I was like, never again. Nope.
No. Yeah. How about you, Momma Direfere? Have a good week. We'll just bring you. You're just one of
It's
the show
always
now.
a good week when my son comes home. I try to fix him up with all kinds of goodies to eat, and so far he had a big pot of homemade beef stew with cornbread and some special rice that I fixed up.
Oh.
Yummy.
I mean,
So
I'm
how
not
long was the
bragging
trip
about
from
it, but
Oklahoma?
Earl is bragging about it. I don't try to spread around this propaganda. I don't want people knowing.
You just don't want to share, is what you're saying.
Well,
You
yeah,
just don't want to
It
share.
is what it is.
So what I'm hearing is if me and Ashton show up down there, we're not getting nothing.
No, you will.
Not if he's there.
Oh, come there. I
be like-
will put out a spread for you.
There you go.
She's Texan. They don't. It's like the Asian culture. You come over, you're gonna leave full and
and happy.
wanting more.
Yeah.
Fat and happy. I like that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You left any other way, it's on you, man.
Yep.
That's right, because I put it on the table. If you don't eat it, it's not my fault.
Yeah. You only ate 5 pounds. Was it not good enough for you? You know.
Closed mouth don't get fed. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome. That's good. Well, okay. That's good. I'm glad everyone had a good week. I'm looking forward to a nice long weekend. Some of us more forced than others. Of course, the other people that I know I saw a lot on my my other guild that they were griping about the holiday because they get to work through it, and it's like, yeah, well, that would suck. That does. And one of them works at a casino. Jazz, what are casinos like on holiday weekends? So I'm sure they're mostly
My husband
quiet
is
and
working
dead.
right now. He worked Thursday. He worked Friday. He's working tonight. He's made a lot of money.
Right. But I'm sure
he's
there's
like, I swear to God, everyone's intelligence flies out the window.
and there's probably only like 7 or 8 people there, I'm sure.
100, yeah.
Oh, 100. Oh, yeah, I was close.
100 people. Yeah. And it's apparently a band that really shouldn't be a band. So he has to listen to it all weekend. So
so like
he's not happy.
99% of all bands that play at those
Yeah,
places,
it's really not good. I know which one he's talking about. They played a lot when I was there because the old people love them. And they're just not quite on key. So it's
Oh,
and
Aerosmith.
really, really loud. So it's like, oh,
Hey, don't be down in Aerosmith.
Got Aerosmith there.
I'll
The
throw
Walking
something at
Zombies.
you.
Mostly country music. They play country
Oh.
and waltz and sometimes at the same time.
That's odd.
Qual-
All
Yeah.
right, then.
Waltry? They're playing Waltry.
Yeah, it's always really the one time when I was a cashier there and I just sat there and I was listening and one of the security guys come over. He goes, "You look like you're in pain." I'm like, "I'm trying to decide if this is a country song I know or a waltz." And he goes, "It's both. We win." And walks away.
All I saw in my head when she said that was, "If you drink, don't drive. Do the watermelon crawl." Now waltz.
There you go. Exactly. That's kind of what it's like. They have a what's that? The thing you push together and pull apart.
An accordion.
Accordion?
They have an accordion, and they play it in every song. I mean, no matter whether there's instead of a
Piano?
fiddle.
Oh, a fiddle.
Instead of a fiddle,
So
they
it's
use an
not
accordion.
polka?
No, and it's just like, oh my god.
This works great for Weird Al Yankovic. Nobody else should be playing an accordion.
Yeah,
No,
it's
that's
Polka,
weird.
yeah.
Polka never
Yeah, he
dies.
gets a pass.
Yeah.
It was quiet. The first time that I saw it, my coworkers just said my face was priceless. I was like, "Do I hear an accordion?"
You mean, are you rocking to an accordion? Yeah.
And it was some old Willie Nelson song, and it was with the accordion, and I was just like, "This hurts my brain."
It sounds like people that maybe they thought Weird Al Yankovic was like a serious artist and thought, you know what? I dig this sound.
Oh, no.
Yikes. All right, well, let's go real quick in what we've been doing in roleplay, or in this case, gaming. And I know, Momma Direfere, you may not be aware, but we have a tradition on this where
Sigh.
the person that is the most sarcastic and speaks up out of turn goes first, and which, of
True
course,
story.
just happened to be Jazz today.
Uh-huh.
What?
Yeah.
I was just letting our guests know that that's how things are picked. And since
It is
you,
a standing rule.
yeah, I mean,
Uh-huh.
I think
So-
one of my favorites, my favorite rules in that vein is anybody whose name who rhymes with "as" gets to go first. Oh, hey, look, it's you, Jazz.
huh? Yeah, look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, quite amazing. Okay, so role play, right? I had a hellish week, but I did manage to still get some role play in. Tuesday was poetry night, and I was there on Kia and got to interact with a lot of people. Part of the problem with ESO is I can't find random role play to save my nothing. I tried all week. at various times to go find random roleplay in Riften. Wednesday, or was it Friday? I think it was Wednesday. I went to, what's the name of it? It's out in the middle of nowhere. Not Edge.
Edgelord territory.
It is, actually. That's why I don't usually go there. And there were 3 people there role-playing. And I thought, all right, finally. And I stood there, and they were talking, and I was talking. And, of course, both the Bosmer had horns, because, of course. But I sat there and started interacting with them, and the other guy says in parentheses, I don't mean to ignore you, dude, but this is our own private RP, and you're not really welcome here.
Ooh. Wow.
I was like, so why are you doing it in a public place?
Yeah.
Thanks, bye. And I walked away. I mean, I didn't say anything else, but it was just like, I'm done. And I logged out. But yeah, but Thursday was fun. We had our typical tavern guild night, and there was a lot of role play there, interactions back and forth. It was a lot of fun. And Telvanni night was actually not a Telvanni night. It was a inter-guild party, sort of. So we had another guild called the Direfere, House Direfere, was there with some of their members, and then our members were there, mostly just the masters and mouths of Telvanni, and we got to interact. So it was a lot of fun, and there was some spirited debate that went well.
Imagine so.
Because we had somebody there who's from the Old Servants Guild.
Oh, Lord.
So she was talking about how they make all these rules, and it's like, no, that's not actually how it works. And so Wolf, Typhon and her got into a debate toward the end. It was really funny. So it was a lot of fun, and I was really pleased to see it. Today was very busy for me, so I haven't been able. I did get some role play right before I was like racing to get it done before this started, because the only time they could meet with my character was today. So Saldreni, the Telvanni, met with the Lord and Lady Dorothy about Sasher, her secret son, that nobody knows is her son. So I have this friend that I promised on her deathbed that I would keep track of, and I kind of lost track of him, and so I'm just checking in to see how he's doing.
Right.
It was a lot of fun. So
are you dead yet?
So technically doing the job.
I'm trying to build RP with this new guild, so I was really pleased that it went well like it did. So that was really all, though, because my week was otherwise kind of thrown into frappe mode.
Right.
Didn't get much else done besides those things, though.
Yeah, that's all well and good.
Nothing developmental wise. I even went into tour, and there was literally nothing going on. So it was just like, all right, it's a wash. Let's just go do the planned RP things. So
yeah, that is a bummer. With the mega servers are really kind of a cool idea, but it doesn't. The instancing really kills it. It really makes things. It does, hard to get to.
It's great. Actually, according to like the Raiders, they hate it. So apparently, it's bad for them too. For some reason, although I would think they would love it.
They got more competition for zones.
Oh, is that it?
Oh, yeah.
Well, partly, but if it's instance, then that wouldn't be even a thing. So I'm not sure why they hate it.
I wonder if some of the raid zones aren't instanced. Maybe
so.
Or like
maybe
they're on a timer or something like that. I seem to remember something about a timer on some of
I don't know. All I know is that I hear a lot of people wishing they didn't have the mega servers that are raiders and people that do a lot of the, well, of course they're not called raiders, the people who do the trials in ESO.
Right.
We call them raiders still because we're old school.
Yeah. Well,
that's right.
Most of them do too. Because trialer sounds dumb.
It does. It really does. A trialer? What the hell is that? Yeah.
My trial of EQ1, so I'm gonna need that code so I can keep being a trialer. Yeah, don't be that guy.
So it went. They don't like it any more than we do. But most people that quest and just play the game seem to really enjoy it because it's easier to get the group finder to work like you want it to, and I understand that. But the rest of us hate it.
Yeah, but there's also technology now, like Final Fantasy 14. They're servers, so they're server based. Balmong's Balmong,
right.
Blah blah blah. But when you do the looking for group thing, when you do if you do a dungeon, if you do a raid zone, if you do a boss fight, it pulls from all 7 or 8 servers on each
I think Guild Wars
Shard.
2 did that too,
Yeah.
and so does Tor. Now
So
that
you're
I
not
think
just
about
pulling
it.
from Balmung, you're pulling from like 8 other servers all on that
Does
data
ESO
center.
do that too?
Well, ESO it's just all everybody in
All
the
one
game, I
thing.
would think, yeah.
Yeah, Tor does it, I think, as well for some things.
Yeah, but then they only have 5 servers total.
I know, it's not
So,
like it's really hard because their game is about dead. But
all 8
yeah.
people. But no, that's
Yeah.
cool. How about you, Strafae? Did you get anything done? Since you're another ESO player. And WoW, apparently, Hellcat tells us WoW has that too, so.
We did poetry hour, which was entertaining. We didn't have a huge showing, so we did poetry around the bar. So we just kept drinking and reciting poetry. It was fun. We had our normal folks there. Nothing developmental really happened. I mean, of course, Romeo asked again, "Hey, Lord Silverleaf, how's things on the family front?" Trathis looked and went, "We're fine here. We're all fine now. Thanks. How are you?"
How are you?
Other than that, like Jazz, the week was kind of stupid. I was pretty tired most of the week.
I love that the week was kind of stupid.
I remember Guild Night, but for some reason I'm like, you know what? I was one of my 11-hour shifts. I came home, did dinner, had to patch some stuff, jumped into Project 1999 for like 5 minutes, and went, "Yeah, I'm going to bed," and just shut everything down. You know when you're in that zombie mode of just up tired? That's what I was doing.
You have the desire to play, but the will is lacking.
It's gone.
Yeah.
You got your bed casting dire charm on you, and you're like, I just want to crawl in there and go to sleep.
Yeah. No, I get that. I had a actual event. Since I'm the combat teacher for the Final Fantasy XIV guild I'm in, I figured it was probably time to hold a combat class.
Might work out.
Right.
Might work out.
mean, I'm just logically, it seems sound. It's a very small guild, though. Only 2 people showed up, and then
Oh, jeez.
which is fine. I mean, at peak, there's maybe 4 or 5 people on. It's a small guild, and they're trying to get bigger. But the reason I know they actually are trying is because their guild hall is worth about 700 million gil. I mean, it's decorated to the teeth, and the fact that they even have it means they've been there forever and they're not going anywhere. It's just
that is impressive.
They're just they're happy. They're not one of those guilds. It's like, we have to be the biggest and the best. They're like, is everybody happy? Yeah, okay, cool. So, and then of course 2 people showed up. And the second one that came in lost power within 5 minutes. Like they said
well.
Yeah, they came on Discord and she was like, "We just lost all power to our neighborhood and I have no idea what's going on." I'm like, well, that sucks. So me and the guy that was left just dueled because he wasn't an actual student. So we just had an RP duel and it was fun. He's actually, Strafae, back me up on this. Does it seem like it happens a lot when you typically interact with other actual male players, or not women playing men, because that doesn't seem like it happens as much, but just male players? A lot of them just they try to overdo everything and they make it instantly like a dick measuring contest about like who's the better person automatically.
There are a lot of
notice
dudes
that?
Yes, there are a lot of one-up dudes.
Yeah, that's it. Good. It's a good Mario way of saying it.
For some reason, they have to be the guy. They have to be the dude. It's like they got something to prove. I saw these guys in high school. I saw them in Roleplay, and they're everywhere.
Yeah, but that's what I like. His name's Eric, Arik. He's a Ura, which is the dragon people. He's like, his character's like 19. He was raised on the Azim Steppes, which is where the Ura battle tribes are. But he's the gardener. He's like the university gardener. But he knows how to fight. He just chooses not to. So, but it's never a one-up thing with him. It's always been a very casual, like, yeah, it's good to see you. He's real supportive of all the people around him. He's a good dude. So I really enjoyed having a good fight with him. Of course, our first 6 rounds went 0-0. It was first to 3 hits, and we did the attack defense roll, and every attack was low, every defense was high. So we went. It was a very acrobatic first 35 minutes of that fight before anybody landed a single tap. Yeah.
My goodness.
Statistically, we won the lottery. It was just ridiculous how it kept going. But it was a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it. there are a lot of decent people. It's like I said, it's just a small guild. They're nice people. Everybody in there is real friendly. They still have, it's got the usual, like somebody will come in, they'll realize it's not for them, and they'll bail out of nowhere without saying a word, and they're just like, oh well, not for them. So yeah,
the good old ghost guild.
Yeah, they'll do like a couple things. There was one, she joined the guild and she was going to be security. She was real standoffish and like kind of a know-it-all, and then the next day they were gone. Well, wish you the best, I guess. Hope see you. What?
It's like they're there for the free cookies. And then once the cookies dry up, they're like, we're out.
Yeah, I don't. And it's not like in not like in ESO where you can have multiple guilds. You just have the one, so it's not really a benefit to bouncing around. But yeah, that was my big role play. I've had a lot of little skirmishes and things like that. Mostly I've just been playing the game and chilling out. Kind of looking forward to the Final Fantasy VIII remastered, or not remastered, but remastered, comes out this Tuesday. I've never played all the way through that one. Although they ruined that meme of the set where what Renoa says that you're the best looking guy here, and it zooms in on his like very pixelated face.
I remember that.
Yeah, well, now he's sharp enough that he actually still looks like a decent looking guy, so they ruined that meme. Jerks. Yeah, it was
so much of that.
Just big chunk of hair in his face. He had like one like sloth-like eyeball.
He had some bangs going to the side. He had like a long, like it was like Marty's hairdo that let grow too long.
He had Final Fantasy hair. I mean, they all look like that. They all look like Tobey Maguire in Spider-Man 3, but with longer hair. That's just
good old Squall. I remember him well.
But how about
that was cutting edge.
Yeah, it really was, and it's
my favorite scene in that's still the dance scene.
The very beginning
graduation.
Apparently they actually updated even some of the CGI scenes in it, which I'm surprised they were even able to do. Like they're a lot clearer than they used to be, so that doesn't typically happen when they do that stuff. But how about you, Yunfei? Got anything?
No.
All right, well, good talk, Sib.
No, not really. I didn't really do a lot. So
after your shoulder or your power steering fun, you were wiped.
Full body workshop, courtesy of the U.S. Postal Service.
Oh, she was in rough shape.
I was livid Monday night, but no, really didn't do a lot. Just I didn't actually log into anything, so I did update 76.
I did as well.
I did play Dead by Daylight a couple of times.
I thought I heard screaming.
Yeah. Yeah, we won both times I played.
Yeah, but that doesn't keep you from going, no. Yeah.
I can't help it.
I actually oh, go ahead, babe.
But no, that's about all I did. So
yeah, apparently we saw a trailer too, apparently, for that Dead by Daylight. They're bringing in Stranger Things, so you can actually be Steve the Harrington.
No way.
The Demogorgon.
Demogorgon,
and the Demogorgon's the bad guy, and then Nancy is the other character. And then Nancy.
You said it was Nancy.
Yeah, it's Steve and Nancy as the good guys that you can play now.
Nice.
And then the Demogorgon will be the like. And it looked
Fun
like
fact, Momma Direfere looked like Nancy in the 80s.
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah. So when I saw her hairdo, I went, I remember that when I was like 6.
Yeah, those 80 hairstyles, they're definitely something they're very stylized. Very stylized.
On a side note to Sib's deal on updating 76, I jumped into it earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Despite them fixing that bug, guess what I logged into, Sibs? Every piece of power armor I own in my inventory and my current T60 suit stripped down to the chassis.
Did you ever log back in after that bug and get it fixed?
Well, I haven't logged back in today, but I put the T60 back on my suit.
Right after that bug, when they finally got it fixed, I logged in and fixed it all. And then I've logged in a couple times and it's been fixed. So hopefully when you go back in, it will be corrected.
Cool.
You know,
you just
if
have
you've
to
corrected it.
Fix it
But
yourself.
I felt your loot fatness because I had to crawl all the way to my cabin. Log back in later and sort it.
I was so hostile because having to carry all that on you, it's like insane. You're like, you can't do anything. You're just stuck.
My weight was 725-ish over 200 something. Like, it was ridiculous.
It is. And then even once you get to the bank, you have to finagle stuff because to get all the power armor pieces and the power suits to put them all back on there, it's insane. I was like, it took me forever to get that done. I didn't want to mess with it, but I did finally get it fixed.
I'm not so much looking forward to that part, but yes.
Bethesda, stop.
Yeah, they need to up their game for sure.
Their cooldown period for that's adorable bugs is long gone. I think this has been a hard year for them, a really hard year. I don't think if they release Elder Scrolls 6, I'm sure it'll sell great. But if it's anything like they've been releasing recently, I don't think the public is going to be nearly as forgiving as they have been in the past on that stuff.
I don't think so either.
Yeah. So
No, that's right.
Well, and last but of course not least, Momma Direfere, did you play or do any video gaming this week?
Well, I sure do. I've been playing for over 22 years. I started with the Nexus, and that's where I started doing some writing and some poetry because they had a poetry night on that.
Oh, yeah.
It was really blocky and everything, but I did a few things on that. And there was 7 years in EQ1, and there's been nearly 15 in EQ2, and I'm still around.
Well, you've outed yourself as an old troll, but we met recently.
No. She's fine. I want to hear this.
Now carry on, sorry.
Well, yeah, and the Nexus was really cool because I think that was some of the things that planted the seeds for the book that I wrote, although I didn't really realize it at the time. And so that was an interesting thing to go through because for years I wasn't doing anything artistic, or I wasn't writing or doing anything. I was busy making a living. I was busy paying bills. I was trying to do all that kind of thing. So that gave me an outlet. And once the spark got kindled, then it started working again, and all kinds of ideas started popping in my head.
Huh. See, we've had a few of us here have been burnt out on a lot of that stuff. Sib, Strafae, me, you and
But
Faye for quite some
to
time.
answer your question, Ashen, she's still rocking around in EQ2. I was watching her play today, and I was like, oh, Lord.
Yeah, I saw when she joined
That's
our
Kale.
thing that's where she was. So what are you doing? What are you playing in EQ2? How do you like the new content and stuff that they've been putting
The new
out?
content that they put in was Kael'dracal, and all they've done is they've revamped it. They did not change the gear, so it's still 90 drops when we're rocking 110 stuff, so it's not really helpful.
Huh.
But there are some new shiny collections, and there's some in this particular X pack that we're in. Status is at a premium, so you can get some good status pieces in there, and that helps a little bit because otherwise I was having to dungeon crawl in a lot of old X pack just to be able to get all of my status back because things are just exorbitantly priced. Things that you have to have for usual consuming, different temp adorns and things.
Yeah. Man, I really wish they would stop. I do miss shinies, though. I will say that's one of those things I really, really miss is the shiny collection from EQ2. A couple other games have it a little bit.
I haven't seen it in any other games.
There's like Final Fantasy 14. It's not the same. They've got they do things like the lookout. You go around and you find special spots of vistas and things like that. It's just the closest they get. But there's something about that little spotting that little glowing turd on the ground and have no idea. It's kind of like a lottery.
I don't know what it is, but I need it.
But I'm gonna need it and I'm gonna sell
like
it.
crack.
If I don't. Yeah, it really is.
It was funny because whenever Ashen first introduced me to EQ2, I was the worst. We'd be going somewhere, and all of a sudden he'd look behind him, and he's like, "Where'd you go?" And I was like, "There was a shiny over there. I had to go get it."
Hey! Don't feel too bad. I always break for shinies too.
Mm-hmm.
Woohoo!
Yeah,
That needs to be a
I
T-shirt.
miss shinies.
that should be a
man.
bumper sticker.
No, a T-shirt. I break for shinies.
I break
for shinies.
I love that.
Oh, that's good. But no, that's cool. Yeah, I miss EQ2. I just wish the people that were doing it just were better than they are right now. But that's mostly my Daybreak Games complaint since they took over. But it really was such a great MMO. But I'm
Yeah,
like,
we're all EQ2 refugees. So it's kind of neat
Yeah.
to see it. Even though ESO looks better, I went, oh gosh, I remember when this was cool, but now it looks
yeah.
rough.
Well, yeah, and then even ESO's now 5 years technically out of date.
Oh, yeah.
It looks
True.
good, but and same thing with Final Fantasy 14. It looks good. Their style is neat, but there's certain things. What was it? I forget his name. He was the ruler of Doma, and he had like the samurai kind of robe, but it was like off of one shoulder, and there was this big, like, elaborate detail on his left shoulder as long as you were zoomed out. But as soon as a cutscene came in, you could see like even if it was just his whole body in frame, you would see the giant pixelized things on the robe itself. It was just it was a blurry mess. I don't know how they could let that through, but
Sounds like the level of detail models snapped in at the wrong time. So
it was
you're seeing
constant.
what's supposed to be far away.
It was always that was like that. It's
Oh,
like they
bad.
didn't even have a more detailed version of it to snap to, because it wasn't like if you've played Final Fantasy 14 or you've played Final Fantasy, their cutscenes aren't exactly what you would call short.
No, they're long, and most of the time they're freaking cool.
Right. So when they do these cutscenes, like, they could be like 10 minutes long, and he could be sitting there talking for a full 45 seconds. It never got more detailed. And I got I'm cranked up. I got the computers to do that, and there's nothing that can go any higher, and they just like, we'll let this detail. Other details, it's like super detailed, but there was something about this one texture. They're like, good enough. It's only a major character in our story that shows up for probably a total of like 4 hours in on-screen time, but why not? So, all right, well, that's cool. Kind of answer some of our questions, but I did want to reason we did this. One, Strafae was visiting his mom, and two, she's a gamer, which we know because I've seen some of the awesome loot that she gets Strafae for birthday and Christmas, which, by the way, you've got excellent taste. Excellent taste.
It does.
I never failed to elicit a grin.
That's right. I bet not. I bet not.
Started with Masters Universe, it rolled on to Star Wars, and that's just cooler stuff as it goes.
Yeah, I have a feeling that Skeletor and Evil Lyn statue set you showed me probably isn't in your future, though.
No, that's way too expensive.
Yeah, there was... I saw one.
Those are cool, but those are way too
right. There's one that they
exorbitant.
did recently. It was like I was like, oh, that's God, I can't remember what it was. It's like, that looks really great. $800. Okay, well, looks are all it's ever gonna be, because I'm not spending that much on a statue. That's
nope.
Not a plastic one, no less.
No, I mean, and their details are amazing. I will say though that they
Maybe a blow up doll, hun.
They are cheap.
I told you, it's Gormal's mama. Hey.
That's right. But Strafae, you're gonna the spirit stores that pop up for Halloween.
Oh yes,
you're gonna need to go take a look at one, because one of their new items this year is a life-size demon dog from Ghostbusters, the Hell Dogs.
Oh, that's cool.
It's $500.
Goodness gracious!
But it's life-size. So November 1st, when everything goes 50% off, I'm going to whichever spirit store has that, and if they have it, I don't care. I'm buying it. If that's the only thing I get for Halloween next year, I'm getting it.
Well, you have like the Halloween theme park at your house every year anyway, so that'd be great.
True.
Just to hide out as the dog. If you could get Sibs to dress up as a Ghostbuster with her daughter, and she could walk up and look at little Sibs and say, "That's right, my husband's a dog."
So she's a dog. But yeah, I've already got there. They had a Slimer on the camera, if you see him right up there in the Proton Pack this last year, and I got him half off. And
nice.
He's actually really good quality too. He's very solid. He's a solid little fatty. But so if they built him like that, I'd definitely spend that money. But yeah, I gotta see it in person. But with that, let's go ahead and go. The whole reason we have. I mean, well, one, he was visiting her, and two, she was gracious enough to actually, talk to us. But one of the things, as I said earlier, is a lot of role players, we're all, in one way or another, we're writers. We're all writing. I mean, unless you're doing the voice over role play, which is, not done very often outside of the newer generation of kids coming up. It's writing. You're just basically coming up with a character and you're writing it, and it's interactive writing. So a lot of people that role play want to, they have their own ideas. They get their own dreams, their own world building exercises and this and that. So that's why, since he was going to be there, we figured let's have her on, one, for embarrassing stories about when Strafae was a kid, but probably more importantly, I guess, after that, I don't know, but it depends on the story. But what
it's
it
all
takes,
a troll fest. I saw Blade Bear.
I don't know what you're talking about, but just what it takes to, what brought you there, how what it was like to write it, how to get it published, all that fun stuff. So we got a whole bunch of questions. By that I mean like 8 or 9. But I figure we'll just talk it all over.
Well, okay. It was kind of a difficult deal, and I actually did a couple of speeches about this because seems like it's a really mysterious thing. A lot of people say, how in the world do you publish something? But in actuality, it is easier to do the writing and everything than it is to prep it and get it ready for publishing. The editing can be a pain. Finding a publisher, you can go self-publishing. You can do something like Amazon. There's several other venues. However, there is the risk that you will just be enveloped in anonymity because unless you have some marketing or a strategy plan that is good enough to get your advertising, your face out there, your book out there, your idea out there, because this book I wrote 10 years ago, or actually it was published 10 years ago. It's recently being revamped, and it's going to be republished through Folio Avenue out of California. And
nice.
then they also have the manuscript for Earthshine, which is its sequel. So
neat.
I am going to be working on that. I worked probably, a good 2 to 3 weeks going through and doing the edits myself because I'd paid for edits, but they were, they didn't have my touch to them. So this time I did it. The poor girl that's having to plan them all in is probably having a stroke. But it's all in there and ready to go.
No, that's cool. Congratulations on that.
Yeah, that is really.
But yeah, and I've heard that there's a author we like, we read. It's called Mark Tufo from the Zombie Fallout series, and he was basically a lot like you. His wife kept pushing him. He's like, "Oh, come on, you can do it." He's like, so he self-published it, and now he's got several books out and all that stuff. But they've come into a part now when from transitioning from being it's been ongoing, but self-publishing and the audiobooks to having a publisher. It's kind of this like legal hell. Like some of his books were pulled off Audible while they revamped the contracts and this and that. So there's definitely seems to be pluses and minuses to waiting, if you're able to wait out and get a publisher, or if you self-publish, but that the getting your name out there, there's just so many books out there these days. It's kind of funny because for the longest time it seemed like books were kind of dying off, like nobody really cared, and then the internet came along with the self-publishing on things like Amazon, and now it's just a flood of them.
There are a lot of them, but then it's also hard to pick and choose, and you have to decide what genre you like. For instance, I was talking to one Mr. Cameron Whittingham, and he told that my book was one of 10 that was going to be featured at a Miami book convention in I think November 19th in Miami.
Oh,
and
cool.
That came as a pleasant surprise to me because I had thought that my poor little book was going to languish on the internet forever without me having a literary agent or having anybody for marketing. That's kind of what happens to a lot of these. You're not even a fizzle. You're not even a big explosion of a supernova or anything like that. It's just, it's out there and then it fades into anonymity.
Yeah, you just can't get out there. And for anybody interested, it actually is on Amazon. It's called Surviving the Waning. If you have, I guess, it looks like Kindle Unlimited, you can get it on Kindle, and the paperback's about $13.50.
And it is an incredibly, really
well
I really enjoyed it a great deal.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You are so talented, and you draw your world really well with words.
So what?
Well, that's one of the things that I've always done. I started reading to my kids when they were little because it was important for them to be somewhat acquainted with the English language, and I always put a lot of animation into it, voice acting, if you will.
Yeah.
And they always.
Whoops, we lost her.
I think you cut out.
Oh.
Oh, so sorry.
you are.
No, you're
There
all
you
right.
are.
No,
It
you're
happens. It happens.
What I was saying is that I used to read to the kids, and I wanted them to have some sort of literate sense about themselves, and they always liked to hear it. And voice acting or doing impressions, it never hurts. Keeps kids' attention.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Especially ADHD boy over here. Right,
And
Strafae?
It's ADD.
and the
It's
detail-
ADD, broski.
the attention to detail passed on to Stray, because his roleplay has always been incredibly detail oriented, and I have always known that it came from you. Just from reading your book, I was like, I get it now.
I tell you the truth, when I was writing the book, I would write 2 or 3 chapters, and I'd say, okay, let me bounce this off of you. Tell me what you think. Oh my gosh, that's good. Why did you just write that much? Get back to writing. I don't want to hear anything until you write another 3 chapters.
I'm lurking in. This is like, I think towards when I was graduating undergrad. She's like, hey, I got some more. I went, wait, how much do you got? I got 1 chapter. Don't come back till you got 2 chapters. I don't want to be splitting your nonsense.
I don't got time for just 1 chapter. I make time for 3, nothing less.
Yeah, I was pretty spoiled rotten, but
No.
her attention to detail is good. I also was reading other books. But yeah, she's got a great story crafted, and she would ask me, hey, can I use this name? I'm like, you could totally use my screen name.
Yeah.
Totally. Just let me claim all my names everywhere first.
Yeah, so yeah, right, yeah, definitely. So what let's see here. What got you interested in we'll go kind of along the process from start to finish, but what got you interested in the idea of writing the book, and when did the ideas come from? You said it was from a game called Nexus, which I don't think I'm familiar with, but
It's been years and years ago, and actually, Strafae got me interested in that game, and then we graduated from that to EQ1, and we were sharing a computer, and it was crazy. But yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it. It was just a lot of fun, and I just realized that I was more of a nerd than I.
Sounds like somebody else I know.
Segue in and explain some of that nice Vulcan speak sheet to send to basically Romulan. All right, essentially, Nexus TK was a South Korean. It was a cartoony, like anime looking game.
Okay,
got into that because okay, I was like, I don't have a job and I'm in junior high, and I think you have to pay to play this, so. How am I going to do this? Mom's a nerd. Hey, Mom, come check this out. Isn't this fun? It's free to level 10. So we got her into Nexus. She had a good time in that. Then my buddy Sean was like, hey, dude, there's this thing called EverQuest. It's going to freaking blow everyone's minds. And I'm like, dude, I totally want to be a Wood Elf Rogue. Got the trial at his house, played it. Again, it was like the trial was like you get to level 5 and it was over. It was like the early days. And I went, huh. Okay. Hey, Mom, check this game out. It's really cool. Look, you can make a high elf, just like in Lord of the Rings. And then she started paying for it, playing it, and I thought, yes, my plan has succeeded. The problem is, it succeeded too well because she started raiding. She started fighting me and Joel for time on the computer because we only had 1 then, right? This is
True that.
early 2000s.
right? Yeah,
I don't.
We'd
I
walk home from
wouldn't
school,
say-
and me
I
and
wouldn't
Joel
say
were
there
rolling
was
dice, and who's going
fighting.
to play? As soon as she got in the door, it was like, go off computer, I got a raid, buzz off, get out of here, I will roll you, I'll eat your face. Like, oh, Lord.
Here's $10.
Mom,
Go
Dad,
see a
going
movie.
hot.
Yeah,
There was no fighting. It was Mom came home, Mom took control.
Mom
Yeah,
bought
pretty
the
much.
computer.
That simple.
Pretty much so. And then she met my stepdad on it, which was cool.
Oh yeah,
That
He
is
was
cool.
playing an erudite, and yeah, so it's my fault.
so he's a
Totally
man
my
of
fault.
intellect. Well, he's an erudite. I mean, they got those big old heads. At least they used to. Before they went all
Yeah.
gray-skinned and like shiny. That was a weird.
But I
transition.
told her when I was a lot younger, I was like, look, you can, because I would run to a lot of role players. Like, look, you gotta like pretend to be your character, all this kind of stuff. And Mom took it and just ran with it. She'd come up and say, "How fares thee, my lord?" And I'm like, "You sound weird, but that's cool." Junior high Strafae.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Sorry, Mom. Go ahead.
All right. It's all right.
No, anything else you want to tell us for her? I mean, you're just going to talk the whole
I just
way.
I'd explain
I'm
it
teasing.
because it was
Or
some
am I?
shadiness.
No,
Skulldugger that turned out really nice.
Yeah. So you said you've been yeah, and I looked at that. That is definitely an old one. I've heard of a lot of MMOs. That one's that definitely flew under my radar. But yeah, an old Nexus TK. It looks like it's one of those sprite based MMOs.
Yeah, that was the infamous X Sephiroth X days of me.
Yeah. Oof.
We all had those days.
Mm-hmm. Goku, son. EverQuest 1.
There you go.
Yeah, it's embarrassing, but that was it. Oh, so you realized kind of you were nerdier than you thought. You got into enjoying the writing. Was it something in like especially EverQuest 1? It was so good, the world that they created in Norath back in the day, and if you actually, those of us that, of course, then you actually did have to read the quest dialogue because otherwise you wouldn't know how to continue the quest without typing in what needed to be said next. So was it just something in the world building that kind of sparked your imagination from the games that made you realize, like, hey, I've got a lot of really great ideas too? And then what made you finally decide to put, pen to paper or fingers to keyboard or what have you?
Well, I had been a Lord of the Rings fan for ages, but there was one thing that always irked me. The one thing was, okay, Tolkien wrote this great, grand vista of books. Where did the elves go? Where did they go? They got in their little boat. Where did they go? So what I did was I attempted to answer that without being a plagiarist or stepping on his toes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I saw where it said you had a lot of influence and inspiration from the Tolkien, his writing styles and things like that. So I assume it's like the attention to detail and the world building bit is probably what you were meaning on that.
Well, I have to tell you, this is the way that I write. It's like I see it in my head like a motion picture, and I write down what I see.
That's exactly what I do too. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I mean, that makes sense to me. That's everything I imagine always plays through. A scene plays through just like it would, even down to camera shots, which, my cinematography could probably use some work in my own head, but there's not much of an editing program up there. But yeah, so you just kind of see the great, a great crater in the city on stilts or something like that, and they just kind of go into detail from there. I'm just making something up off the top of my head. I don't know exactly.
Well, there's not houses on stilts, but in
Right.
Arborwood there are tree houses, which are quite elaborate.
Yeah. Okay. So, probably next, I guess, would probably a good question. What is the Surviving the Waning about? I mean, without giving out spoilers, I suppose. Like I need to tell the author.
I don't mind. I don't.
I'm teasing you.
Author's name is Janice Ayers. The characters I had used, of course, Strafae and Chalice and Chaladal, but it's about this. To start with, because I have to lay out the storyline, is about Chala, how she got to this world, and what was in her destiny. So she is the product of an unfortunate occurrence between some human men and herself, and she's a highborn high elf, and she became pregnant with Chala, and she unfortunately passed at the time of Chala's birth, and her brother was supposed to raise her, but he had nothing but resentment for her, especially because of what had happened to her and to his sister and what had happened to his brother. And it was a culmination of dislike for this little girl, never gave her a chance. And so she was not able to really communicate with him, so she started communicating with animals. So that right there was her animal empathy was a really good thing because it helped her very much in the end of the throughout the book and into the next books too. She always wondered, though, am I the only one like me? So she would scry, and she found a boy. a very cute boy, and his name was Strafae, and he was also a half elf. Now,
That's right. You heard it here. Famous half elf.
Also very
I'm
cute.
just saying. And single. Go ahead. Sorry.
But it shows different things that they go on, and I tried to make this as realistic. I've read books where they had so much description that you get lost in it. It's like, yeah, you described this 300 times. Okay, I got it. Can we move on to the action? Which is why my book is kind of short. It doesn't have these. Let's do a chapter where you're bored to tears and it puts you to sleep, and then you have to pick it up and get to the next chapter that has a little action, and then you get bored to tears for another 2 or 3 chapters. And so this is written like a freight train. You're going to jump on it. It's going to drag you along, gasping until the end page, and then you're like, "Where's the next one?"
Yeah, see, and what you described too, that was my problem with Tom Clancy, was he would go down. Like I don't need to know what size the lug nut is on an aircraft carrier every 14 panels and all this and that. It's like I don't need that level of detail for a Harrier jet to know what kind of fuel it burns and how long and how much the fuel to weight ratio and the thrust and this and that. I know what a Harrier is. It's the one that goes up and then flies straight and it shoots things and makes them go boom. Let's get to the boom. There's a certain level of detail that is good, but I completely understand what you're saying with I don't need 20 chapters to explain what a field looks like. I've seen one. It's okay. It's if your writing style gets to the level of the next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Oh man, emphasis on dragging.
Right. Things that speaking of things that drag on, 5 minutes for an episode is apparently 10 episodes. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Well, I took some college classes, and I was pleasantly surprised right after we had gone through in my English class, Introduction to Literature, and we had read and studied Bartleby, which was by Herman Melville, and it was his short story in an attempt to decry the fact that he had 5 books that he had written and he couldn't find readership. And as I was leaving, I said, "Yeah, I know how he feels." So of course, his ears pricks up, and he says, "What have you got? Bring it, let me read." So he read it, and his eyes were somewhat rounder, and he's like, "It's always the quiet ones. Still waters run deep." And he kept going on. And I said, "Well, tell you what, maybe you can help me with the second book. Maybe there's something you can help me shine it up." He read it. He said, "I do not know why you are not famous." And that's what he said. And I just looked at him, shook my head, and walked away.
And remember, she was also the quiet and nice one, quote unquote. But they didn't have to grow up with her. I'm just saying.
Hey, now, you're a good kid because I was a troll.
Yes.
That's my philosophy. True. Beat them until they're good.
I am within striking distance. I need to behave.
You are. You better be nice. You don't got the benefit of Texas being 5,000 miles long. You're there.
He got to read the second one. I've been read the second part, and all I can say is it's outstanding. And I'm not allowed to talk about it. I think I told Jazz one Easter egg, and it was like a part of an Easter egg. And she's like, "What?" And I'm like, "I can't say no more." She's like, "You're dirty." I'm like, "I know."
Yeah, I thought
there may or may not be dark elves in the second book. There may or may not be a character by the name of Rengots.
That character sounds awful, just terrible. Probably based on something horrible. The stuff my character in Rengots got into. It was a glorious hate fest. But no, that's cool. I'm really glad because I did see that it was in 2009. I was like, oh, there's no more. But in these days too, with the publisher, I am. Because we're big. My wife Sib and I we're big fans of Audible. Yunfei recently, she's been listening to a lot of audiobooks too, and they're not like they used to be. Obviously, they used to be. It seemed like back in the 80s and 90s, every audiobook was read by Ben Stein.
Ben Stein.
It was just like
Bueller.
And the rolling vista went on and on as far as the eye could see.
We're being paid to read this
Ren-
book, but we get 2 craps.
Rengot said with great enthusiasm, "Vith this," and he did. You know, it's just like, well, what are you? And nowadays, they really. I mean, they get good voice actors almost to the point of like the guy that did the Harry Potter series, 200 and something characters. Every single one of them sounded different. Sean Renee that does the zombie Fallout stuff. He's just fantastic. Even James Marsters, Spike from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, reads the Dresden Files novels. So have you ever thought of like having it done into an audio form? Because that's really where a lot of this stuff seems to take off these days too.
Well, that there's nothing that would stop me from doing that. I can tell you I did several book readings at the time that it was published, trying to promote it on my own, of which one Strafae attended, and so I was in full regalia from the fanfare, the Ren Fair type of gear, and I did several voices and everything, and I also did a reading up at the university, and it was funny because when I was at the university, there was like probably a dozen people there. There was a couple that had more degrees than you could shake a stick at, and they were totally boring. Nobody was really listening to them. They were, grandiose up into themselves, but hardly anybody was paying any attention to them. Then there was a few other people who spoke. I was next to the last. Everybody was talking over the other ones, and they were kind of yawning and looking around and looking at their watches and things until I started talking. Yeah, everybody was on the edge of their seats, and they were asking me questions after I read my sample chapter, and they wanted to know all about it. It's always gratifying to have somebody really listen to you when you're talking.
I gotta say, from little kid mode Strafae to older brat Strafae mode, when you would read when she reads stories, like she's her own voice actor, and she'd switch it around on you, and dude, you were like, dude, what's gonna happen next? You're like enraptured, and she'd stop, and that's it for the night. Like, you can't just no. We at least have half a paragraph.
Next time on Dragon Ball Z, and Strafae's just in there like, oh, what? No.
She Dragon Ball Z'd me early.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing. You can be we've all met some amazing people, and clearly, just you coming on here, this is just a silly little podcast on the internet, one of hundreds of thousands, and we've had people call in and they get so, just because they could be the most amazing writer in their role play that they get in, but they come on the show and they get nervous, or some people just there's nothing wrong with it. It's just that they're not great, or they get so nervous they can't speak properly, like I just did apparently. But there's such a difference between being intelligent and having more degrees than you could shake a stick at, and like you said, and being somebody that is worth listening to. And it sounds like when you're reading your stories, that makes the huge difference. I actually went to see Jim Butcher, the Dresden Files author, when he came here to Tulsa, and he was supposed to read a chapter of the book just like you did, and then answer questions. And he got on stage, and he was a great speaker, and he's just like, you guys have all read my books, right? And they're like, yeah, we love him. And he's like, so how about I just stand up here and just answer questions for the next 2 hours? That sound good? And everyone was like, yeah, that's good. And he gave us a little preview of the next upcoming book, and just he was a person instead of like a pile of degrees, which that sounds exactly like what you did. You're just, you come on here and it's just like you've been here the whole time. That makes such a big difference in getting stuff out there.
You're natural at
very
speaking
natural
to people.
Thank you. That's a good word for it.
Well, I didn't think that. There's been a few times, and I will tell you, when I was in school, I would pay people to do my book reports, my verbal book reports, because I didn't want to get up and stand in front of anybody.
She got stage
It was very painful. Yes, it was very bad. And even later on with some other speaking engagements, I would pretend to be cool while my knees were knocking a staccato. But, you get through it and then you go on.
Yeah, and I understand. I always hated talking to people, and as I've gotten older, I think I give a crap. I don't give a crap has kicked in, and I'm just like, you'll either listen to me or you won't. Which, that's kind of where you have to get. But the only way you get better at that is by doing it. And sounds like just practicing at the bedside of baby Strafae, reading your books and things like that. You already had reading out loud to an audience, even if it was an audience of one, already under your belt. Where it sounds like maybe the other guys, not so much.
There was a little bit of that early on. When the younger troll, his henchman, wanted me to read at his school, and the job wouldn't let me go, I recorded it on a cassette recorder and sent it up there, and they loved it so much that they were running around to all the rooms and wanted me to read more. But I'm thinking, this is not my job to
read to children.
I was just a guest reader.
Oh, how funny!
That is really cool, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah, the brother was kind of miffed because Panasonic wouldn't. Yes, we can say it because they laid her off and they were dirtbags 2008. They didn't let her go, so Mom recorded it, and he was all upset. And of course, once they read it, then everybody wanted more. And then I guess my brother was like the big man in second grade or whatever it was.
Big man in second grade, all of 3.5 feet tall.
Pretty much.
So moving on to that. So what you got the idea, and you started writing. How long from that spark of hey, I got an idea for something? How long did that take, and what kept you going for the writing? Because it seems to me like a lot of people, the ideas come easily, but actually sitting down and taking the time to pound it out is the longer and one of the longer, harder processes for some people.
All right. I can tell you when this book started pinging, it was like a ping pong ball in my head. It would not let me sleep. It would not let me do anything. I had to write it down. I had to get it out. If it didn't, it was like it was going to explode in my head. So I wrote down everything. It wasn't like a dream that you forget about after you get up and walk around for 4 or 5 minutes. It was constantly there, demanding with a ball peen hammer to get out of my head.
So how long did it take you to write it all out then?
Probably about 3.5 months.
Wow.
But getting it published took about another 1.5 years.
And did you go through a publisher? Did you self-publish?
I self-published because I went to all kinds of publishers. After I got about the 40th decline on them, and same with trying to get some kind of literary critic, I said, well, it looks like if I'm going to do this, I'm going to have to do it on my own, because the literary critics wanted somebody who was already established, already had a couple of books, and wasn't going to be a one-book wonder that they didn't want to waste their time on. So what I did was I asked around to my friends that I had where I was living there in South Florida at the time, and everybody always knew somebody, so they suggested this guy, and I was a little dubious, but I thought, well, I'm not getting anywhere, I'm doing anything else, and I want to try this. Of course, their angle is that they were going to publish it. I was going to do all the promotions. I was going to do all the marketing. They were going to rake in the money. Didn't work very well.
So basically, my Crapco advertisement at the beginning was an actual thing.
Pretty much.
Yeah. That's kind of where I've heard stories of stuff like that, where the publishers, and that it doesn't make sense, because it seems like if they're there to support you, I mean, yeah, obviously you doing self promotion and getting your name out there and this, that, and the other thing, of course that helps. But if they aren't willing to throw a little bit your way and spend some time on advertising on local radio station, like, hey, come on down to Barnes and Noble from blah 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 to blah blah blah, and meet the author kind of stuff. If they can't do that, I mean, it seems like they're almost shooting themselves in the foot, because then how does anybody hear about it, especially these days?
The only thing that they did is they put it on for sale at barnesandnoble.com and on amazon.com. The e-version that you see that's available on Amazon, it myself.
Yeah, on the Kindle, yeah, and that's just so. But now you've got a new publisher.
A new publisher, and then there's this gentleman that I mentioned before that said something about the Miami Book Convention, and he is apparently a book marketer, and So I'm going to explore that tentatively and see how that's going to work out. And perhaps it'll be able to get the word out a little bit more. But here's the thing. And this, one of the guys at Folio Avenue told me, he said, what are the movies that you see these days? And I said, well, you have your shoot 'em ups and chases, and you have your ninja movies,
superheroes,
and then you have the fantasy books. And he says, exactly, and they're running dry on ideas. And you have a good idea. And I'm like, yeah, that's nice to hear, but if it happens, it happens. But after 10 years and it being a sleeper, I don't know.
Yeah, but that's how that stuff. A lot of that can happen. It's been out there for a while, and then you never know. I mean, just this weekend, you're saying about fantasy stuff. The new Netflix Dark Crystal came out this weekend series, and we watched an episode of that. Fantastic, and then which is obviously very fantasy based. And then what was it? Carnival Row, which is like a steampunk man invaded the land of Tir na Nog, and now the fairies and the pucks and all that are kind of in this industrial age, and that was also very good. But it's a take on that fantasy, but in a completely new except for Dark Crystal, which is 30 years old, but it's a new take on fantasy, which is exactly what it sounds like you did. Where your idea of like, well, where did the elves just like floated off into nowhere? They had to go somewhere. And that was more to it.
That was my premise exactly. But I did not write specifically where they went because I wanted people to believe anyone that has a semi-forested area near them, it could have been there, to give it a more personal.
Yeah,
that
it could be anywhere, any forest anywhere, instead of just
draw the reader in.
Yeah,
which is a good writer does.
Yeah, so long as it's not the suicide forest of Japan. Probably, I would avoid that forest. I would not go there. That way lies madness and probably demons. But
most likely,
yeah. So okay, I mean, you cracked yours out. You really, like you said, it was a ping pong in your head. It just had to come out. So 3 months. I know that's a pretty quick process, especially for like a first time book. But how long? You said you had a lot of trouble with, and this one seems to be something a lot of people struggle with, is the editorial process, getting it so that all the grammar is correct and spelling mistakes, and make sure everything is a coherent kind of
raise
thing.
Your hand if that was your best subject in.
Yes,
you're
funny.
Exactly. So. This is what happens: is you write it in a rush, and then you have to go back and say, "Let me reconstruct this idea. Let me make it more coherent." Oh dear, there is no punctuation here that is correct. Let me go back through.
How many commas in a row can one person use? So how long does that take, and what's that like? I mean, you said the first time that you hired some people, and it sounded like that was somewhat dubious.
It was, because first thing they said was, I really don't want to take your money. You're a first-time author, and this is probably not even going to be worthwhile, and you don't have much of a story. And I said, how much have you read? Well, the first chapter. I said, keep reading. And so he said, well, you don't have any romance, you don't have any intrigue, you don't have anything but these two characters. I said, keep reading. And so by the end of the book, he said, oh my gosh, I can't wait to see what happens next.
So they were being, basically, if you hadn't kept saying that, they'd have been like, oh, you don't have anything because we're impatient and we only read 2 chapters.
Pretty much.
Exactly. But the other problem is that they wanted to make a lot of money off of it, because this is a money-making business. If you are an author, people want to make money on you every which way. So one of them is through the editing. Now, I hadn't been in school. Now, I did graduate as a National Honor Society member when I graduated from high school, but it had been so many years and I had been working in a technical aspect that I really hadn't done a lot of writing. So that's why all of my grammar, punctuation, verb tenses, everything was a little off, because I was slapping it down as fast as I could go, like I told you.
Right.
So then this guy was just complaining, oh, you do this and you do that and then blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, just that's what you're supposed to do is fix it, smooth it out for me. But when he did it, it was like, it's like the difference between, oh, yeah, that's great for, oh, I guess that'll do.
So they were basically rewriting it instead of just correcting punctuation?
No, they weren't. No, they didn't even rewrite it. It was like a couple of words. They says, oh, well, maybe this was the one, because I was doing a lot of this through email. Okay. And they really wanted these big payments for doing this stuff. And I'm telling you, after I took another couple of classes in English, it reminded me of everything and resharpened me up. So I did all mine my own, and it'll be a lot better. I promise.
Well, yeah, and because I know and it's with a written word. A lot of times when it comes to people's writing style, they use certain things. The guy I keep referencing, Mark Tufo, on the audiobooks, he has a lot of asides, but when they're written out, the character is writing it in the form of a journal. So he'll be telling the story of, and I shot the zombie in the head, and then he'll put in parentheses this side story about something else, which is still the character telling the story, but it's his way of showing that the character has gone off the reservation and his ADHD kicked in and he's telling something different. Not typically what you would do in a writing style, but that's what his way of showing that for that character does that. And if you don't get somebody that understands, this is just what the character does, it doesn't have to make, grammatic sense, then you end up, I guess it sounds kind of like what you got with where you were just willing to, I think I'll just go back to school real quick and learn this on my own. It'll be cheaper.
Actually, I was going back to school to become a nurse, and I missed getting into the nursing program by 0.03 of a point. And I thought, there's got to be a reason why I missed in that much. And I kind of weighed my age with the relative time it would take to wait and go back again. And seriously, after 6 years of going to college and taking all these courses, I'm a well-educated lady, but I have no degree.
Ugh.
That sucks.
So, Jez, you have anything to say on colleges?
God, don't get me started.
Oh, that's awful. But so yeah, and that's our daughter. She wrote a book and she's trying to get stuff like that done too. And she's looked up that stuff. That's why I was curious as well. And it's the amount of money a lot of these editors want. It's ridiculous, and a lot of them
$100 an hour and up.
Yeah.
My husband does that actually on the side as one of his other jobs. He works for a company that they pay you to proofread and edit things. So if and when I ever decide to finish mine, I'm just going to make him do it because I'm not going to pay anybody.
Well,
Yeah.
I mean, he can't waive that fee, so you're just going to transfer it from one account to the other, right? You're still going to have to pay him.
No, I mean, he can do it for me privately.
No, you're going to have to pay him. No, he's going to need to be paid.
Oh, I'll pay him all right, but it ain't going to be that.
I think that's a very different transaction.
Well.
But yeah, it's ridiculous the amount. And I mean, I get it. You're someone's using their degree and their knowledge of the English language, but at the same time, good Lord. Starting at $100 an hour. I mean, there's lawyers that don't get that much an hour. Jeez. So once now that you've got it all edited, what do you think is kind of when it comes to the publishing? Obviously, you got it. You did it. Sounds like you've done it about all the ways you can: self-publishing, going through a publisher, now having hopefully a better publisher. What do you think is the preferred method for somebody that's just starting out? What should they maybe try to do?
I think that even as terrible as it sounds, you should probably take a couple of courses in the college and go through a really good English teacher, write some papers. You'll have to rewrite them 6 times. It makes you better. Then go through and do your own stuff and do it the same way. Rewrite it until it suits you.
You walk in the background.
Yeah, that's Jazz. That's one of her kids, I think. Probably
No, it wasn't me.
Oh,
That was
it's a
actually
mom's
my Yorkie dog.
Oh, it's a Yorkie.
No, my nice little Chihuahua is laying there. He heard the dog, by the way. Even through my headset, he heard it because he's sitting right here looking at me with great big eyes. I'm just filming to go lay down.
Where's the Yorkie? Where's the Yorkie? But no, okay, so yeah, that's definitely. So what? But when it came to the publishing itself, is it going through a publisher that will treat you right and like?
Well,
how do you
I have
do
a
that?
contract with them. I'm not sure how I will be treated. So far, everybody has been very courteous, very kind, and always emphatically saying I'm part of their family now. The guy that contacted me initially, and it came out of the blue, said that he was looking for new publishers to pick up for his publisher company, and I was like, well, why did you call me and how did you get the number? Well, he said, I talked to Amazon and they gave me the information, and he said, well, you have some really good reviews, and of course you have one or two that's bad. And I said, yeah, you can't please everyone.
Right.
And so he went on to say, well, I think we could do better for you than what these other people have if you just want to give us a try. And I thought, all right, let's give it a go. This is like my first baby,
Right.
that I've had to love longer than the rest of my kids. So let's give it a go.
I'm so glad the other two brothers don't listen to the show.
What?
Oh yeah, that book. Totally. Yeah, your book. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah. Well, I'm just saying. I mean, one of them is something to be proud of, and then there's you three.
Oh.
Oh.
But that is accurate, really, because like my first book that I still am working on now, I have been writing this book since I was 15. So I am 52. So this is my first baby.
At least there's still a 5 in it, Jazz.
What?
At least there's still a 5 in that number. There you go.
Yes. But I would treat this, it's my first baby. And my kids are like, what? And I'm like, you just don't understand. So she nailed it. That's kind of how I feel too. And I've tried to have it published, and they told me to rewrite it. So I've been rewriting it and rewriting it and rewriting it.
Sometimes when that happens, you need to have somebody else read it and make suggestions and see if you want to tweak things in a different way.
And that's basically what I did, is I gave it to a couple of people that are literary kind of people who don't even like sci-fi, so I could get an honest feel. And they all liked it. So I'm in the process of putting a new world into it, which is complicated and I have no time, but it is slowly happening. So,
well, keep your vision and keep your dreams alive, and you'll get there.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. And you're my inspiration. So whenever somebody says, have you ever? No, I know somebody that did this. I'm going to do this too.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes you just cut through the noise and the crap. And there you go.
Just haven't had time between working and everything. It's just been really hard to find the time, but I've gotten a little bit done lately. So I think I'm going to get it.
You have to schedule time to do this. You
And
really do.
You really do. And I finally went and got Scrivener, and I've been using that instead of Word. And I got the entire world and all the different books that are part of this world all in the same file, and it's really helped. I've come a long way since I switched to Scrivener. So I have a good feeling it'll eventually work.
Yeah. Okay, I got a question for you from the Great Whoopdini in our chat. It says, Momma Direfere, what's your favorite literary trope? Could be a character archetype, literary convention, stock setting, or plot element. Something. So they want to know what your favorite literary trope kind of is.
Well, that's kind of hard to say. I mean, I've gone through so many things. I was a voracious reader, and there was a lot of things I did like. I think I did stop on probably the Tolkien-based things, the Dark Elf trilogies, the things like that. I can remember putting the Lord of the Rings trilogy in Strafae's hands and begging him to read it, and it took him 2 years. And once he finally did, he was like, "Oh my gosh!"
Yeah, it was good stuff.
Same Dark Elf stuff. I stuck that in his hand, and he's like, "Yeah, I'll read it later." started reading all these like, oh my gosh! I thought, yeah,
She's got that down. She has got that down.
Yeah. Laugh it
It's
up, y'all.
almost like she raised you.
Yeah.
Almost like she is, man. Hey,
Almost.
what are
But
you gonna
yeah.
do?
Now that's thank you for the question, Great Whoopdini. Which still a great name. It's got great in it. But yeah, and knowing there's just it is a tough question just because there's such a wide variety. It's hard, you almost having a favorite one over the other because they so intermingle. You can't always have one without another. It is kind of hard to have a favorite on that. But I think for me, I know at least for gaming, for me, it's always plot. Oh, even over graphics. And gameplay is a close second because if it plays like a brick, it doesn't matter how you could have the best thing ever written, but
If it's not enjoyable, you're not gonna stick around.
Right. Yeah. But so moving on to here.
I have a quick
go ahead.
comment question. I know you mentioned earlier about having a second book that a lot of publishers don't want you to have or just be a one book wonder. Do you recommend maybe writing out a second one or having an outline for a second one ready to go if you are getting into this?
Yeah, that would be very helpful because a lot of people think that they're going to invest a lot of time and energy in marketing or whatever. And if they think that you're only going to write one book, they'll recommend you just self-publish and go from there because they don't want to be bothered with you. Now, these people seem to think because my book is good that there's going to be a lot more interest in the times coming up. I mean, that would be nice, but I take everything with a grain of salt. You need to, too. You need to be a little thick-skinned. You might have the greatest book in the world, but, unless you can get readership, unless you can get yourself out there, and I'm not talking, the flying plane with a little flapping banner behind it, because that's not very readable. You have to put a lot of time into it. I mean, it's like another job. I tried online websites that didn't garner any attention, and while the book readings were really good, they were very transient, and that I think as soon as they walked out the door, they forgot you.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. But I was just curious about that.
She's got a third book in her head, I think.
Yes. I have to bring to fruition from what it said that the half-elves are going to try to save everyone, so that I've got to try to figure out exactly how I want this. I have a few ideas. I have a skeletal outline in my mind. I haven't written it down, but yeah.
So
there's going to be enough.
Gormal contacted me. You know that guy. I think you partially raised him as well. Anyway, before Crapco beat him out in the commercial slot, he had some idea about he was going to review your book in a quick way. But his biggest complaint was there was no trolls. His words, not mine. But hey, it is what it is. Crapco got the bid.
It does happen.
And it's not to say there's not trolls in her book. I think she hints around a lot of stuff, especially in the second book, and I can't discuss. But she hints around at stuff while you're reading it. You wonder, dude, is she talking about this or that? And then it drives you nuts. You're like, oh, dude, it's got to be something. What's she doing to me?
Just sort of a hint at things that might be.
Oh yeah, it's like when you're eating pie and you're like, is that a hint of cinnamon? Like that's the kind of deal it is.
Yeah, and what
that's awesome.
In what you had said too about having a thick skin, and it doesn't matter who you are. Nobody is all things to all people. It's just not. There's people that hate Stephen King's. There's people that hate George R.R. Martin. There's people like me that aren't huge fans of Tolkien's writing style. That's just me because he goes on to a lot of details for me. And also, I hate halflings, so that's kind of a problem since they're the main characters. They're disgusting and their feet are gross. But that's also from.
He's got a halfling phobia. Just saying.
Yeah, which she'll understand it though, because my phobia for halflings came from EverQuest 1. When anyone would cast Spirit of the Wolf, and you would see those disgusting little sausage feet running around at 5,000 miles an hour. It's gross. Put some shoes on. And you're short. The only thing you're good for is falling off Calethin when you're drinking. That's it. That's all you're good for.
Hey, there is one funny thing that I saw. is that one of those little halfling guy was jumping, had a kilt on, and he was trying to vault over a certain area, and all I could see was little feet paddling back and forth, and about fell out loud.
Exactly. Disgusting. Ugh.
I mean, there are suspicious little characters. I mean, I remember meeting this halfling rogue in EQ2, and as soon as combat started, he'd jump behind the guy, backstab, and say, "Here comes the Hobbit sausage!" Like, this guy is gross. Like, what is going on here?
Oh,
That's funny.
okay. So I got another question for you. From Great Root. He says, "My Momma Direfere, do you RP in video? I say video games or tabletop games?"
I have done some in tabletop games. We have had a couple of D&D. It turned out that people liked my food, and they had brought a game over here. So I would feed them, and I would listen to what they said, and they kept trying to get me on there. When I finally got on, I found out how much I liked it, and I just laughed, and it was hilarious. And Strafae DM'd a few games for us, and that was wonderful, except that he did the Fallout one so well that we're all gasping for more, and he's like, no, I don't have time for that anymore.
It wasn't that. It was grad school that kind of monkey wrenched everything.
Oh, blame it on grad school.
It was. We didn't have Discord then either.
What's your excuse now?
Yeah. I mean, you got Discord. There's programs that you can do that.
Sibs by the Bay. What's going on?
Oh, listen, he started another Fallout group in Houston. And
No, I
left
didn't.
us out.
This is rank hypocrisy and rank. What's the word I'm looking for?
Betrayal?
Slander.
Betrayal's good too. No, what I did was I was trying to get my buddy Nathan and his brother invested in the Fallout area in Boston before their characters get to Boston, so then I could get everybody to meet on Discord, and then they'd have 2 more players to roll with. That was the goal, but it didn't pan out for them, so it was like one game, and that was it. So this whole I left them to start a new game. That's this rank falsehood. You hear this? This is what I deal with on a daily. My goodness.
No, I don't hear anything. What are you talking about?
Oh yeah,
No.
just like the rest. You're the best, bro.
But okay. So here's a probably a question. I think one that everyone's actually kind of curious are. What are some of the most embarrassing stories you have of Strafae as a kid?
Bro, that's just below the belt,
one of my favorite ones. We used to
no consideration,
his
no thought.
Dad and I.
Strafae.
Hey, your mom's talking. Don't make me mute you.
Mm-hmm.
His dad and I took him out to eat. He was a wee one, still in the high chair. And his dad says, "Hey, see that lady? Slap her on the backside." And he did.
That's awesome.
She turned around and she said, "If you weren't so little and cute, I'd take offense. But since you're so cute, I'm just going to give you a little tweak on the cheek and go on your way." And he was just blissfully unaware, and I was beet red.
I got no memory of that. That's fake news. That's fake news.
Fake news. No,
Now,
no.
ask your old man the next time you talk to him. It happened at the Duck End.
Which no longer exists. So it's fake news. It's all fake news.
It's an imaginary place. It never happened. Everybody says so.
Now,
It says it's made up.
one of the more recent ones, and it's been probably about 6 or 7 years now, but we went to a birthday party, and I was helping the lady with her little girl who was turning 3, and we baked a cake, and it was beautiful and everything, and there was this huge place, and I was just a little uneasy there, apart from the fact that I knew the family and everything.
Hang on. Before she goes any further in the story,
Mm-hmm.
the people there all played D&D with us when we were playing Forgotten Realms. It was a 3.5. So we all were pretty much gaming nerds. With that in mind, carried away.
So we were talking, and I was kind of looking around and a little nervous, and they had many balloon displays around. You know, some of them were like in little from the ceiling, some of them were in bouquets that were on the counters and things, and one of them popped. And I clicked into D&D mode. I jumped behind the tank, who was Josh, and I pushed Strafae ahead of me, and he says, yeah. You're going to sacrifice the ranger. Doesn't matter. It happens to be your kid, right? Right?
She straight did that. I just looked at her and went, really? You throw me under the bus just because I'm a ranger? I see how it is.
Well,
She goes, hey, she was laughing. I jumped behind the tank, and Josh just nodded and kind of smirked like, yeah, she did it right, bro. And I was like, yeah, thanks.
well, I mean, everyone, most of us here have played EverQuest 1. We all know that hey, pulling tank, up, ranger's down. Or pulling
Yeah.
mob,
Yeah,
ranger
true
down.
story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I played a ranger. He was a
Caster
half
always
elf.
gets behind the tank. Always.
That is so funny.
And rangers, I mean... So moving on. No, those are good stories. So moving on a little bit from that. So you said you've been playing since... Was Nexus the first time you played video games, or have you been playing games or
Yeah,
even
that was the
single-player
very first
games?
one. I mean, I had a CRT computer monitor when we were working on Nexus. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, one of
She
those...
fibbed. She was playing Asteroids on Atari with her
I was gonna say,
nephew
like even
back in the
arcade,
day.
back in the arcade game days,
That's not really an RP thing, though. That's just,
Nah.
like you said, an arcade game.
But it got you got your feet wet. Like, okay, I can do this. Like my parents, I'm gonna be honest. I could put a remote control of any kind. It could be the Nintendo one with all of 5 buttons on it, and I may as well have handed them the secret to life or the Rosetta Stone and said, okay, now translate this, because they had no idea. They could. It was too many buttons. They had no idea what was going on. My dad was halfway decent with Frogger, but that was the Atari. It was a joystick and there was one button on the top. He understood that. You started acting all that stuff. My poor parents, bless them. It just wasn't going to happen ever. So it's always kind of, it's always cool. And especially back, in the early 2000s and stuff, that parents really weren't like it is today. Like my generation of Strafaes and all that, we've grown up with video games. It's, all our kids play them. It's no big deal. Most of the ones that are playing them now, their parents play it alongside them, and if they don't, then they at least have a base understanding of what everything is.
With that in mind, the youngest henchman that Strafae has, when he was still living here, one of his buddies came in and I was raiding, and the dude came in and looked and he says, Dude, your mom's playing. How cool is that? And he's like, yeah. Come on, let's go to a room.
Yes, and back then that's totally how it was. Like my best my best friend Jared, even though his mom, the only game she would play on the Super Nintendo was Dr. Mario. She loved that game, but she was super cool because she was playing, and that's all it took. It was a very low bar back then, is what I guess. Looking back on it, it's like, huh. So do you play a lot of, we know you play EverQuest 2, and you've played a lot of MMOs. Do you play a lot of the single-player story-driven games or anything like that?
No, I haven't in a long time now. When I worked for Panasonic, there was some games that they had a 3DO tabletop, and it was supposed to have been, console. It was supposed to have been cutting edge at the time. I think they were a little ahead of their time, and it was pretty good. They had some things that was a single thing that I liked, was called Monster Manor. The kids deplored it. They thought it was horrible. Right. It also had a couple of racing car games that they liked pretty well, and they played that. It had one or two others, and I tried to keep them in that because I knew that was something of interest to them, and they did have a lot of good times with it.
This is a pre-PlayStation era, so Panasonic got to market first. Didn't market with the crap, and Sony's like, we got you, son, and they beat him. She played this game called, what was it, Monster Manor. It was pretty much a haunted house dungeon crawl, and you had this little electric taser gun, and it wasn't Doom. You know how Doom, you had the weapons,
right?
It was hot pace. This thing was puzzle solving, and you just lost patience with it. She loved it. But there were other racing games that early cutscene video that was really digitized, and it looked cool then, but now it's like hot garbage.
Yeah, it's like,
it was a racing game where you blew. It was like before Twisted Metal, where you raced around. You could equip guns and stuff, and you could blow up the other race car. It was always entertaining to like blow my brothers off the road. Like,
yeah, well, yeah, poor 3DO. That oof.
It didn't.
They were ahead of their time, but man, they just didn't have the.
They didn't market it well. And here's an inside scoop on that. Now, Sony and Panasonic had an ongoing thing. Sony came up with beta, and Panasonic came out with VHF.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the beta did look better, but it was only for 2 hours. How VHS nailed the coffin was that they had the 3 modes. They had the 2, 4, and 6 hours. They had the extra long play, they had the regular play, and then they had the medium one. And the way that they did this is they sacrificed picture quality. The 2 hour was the best. You had fewer pixels and it was a little grainy on the 4 hour mode, and it was extremely grainy on the 6 hour mode, but you could record 6 hours of your stuff.
Right.
And that wasn't the only thing that they did. They had an ongoing thing. So when Sony went through and did the gaming console that you were talking about, that was the nail in the coffin for them to get out of the gaming business, because that's what they were trying to do. They thought they'd get their foot in the door and they'd be like Bethesda.
Yeah, and what's the irony of that too is that the whole reason the PlayStation came around from Sony was because Sony and Nintendo, and there's concept art out there for it, were collaborating on a console after the Super Nintendo. And that whole thing fell through, so Sony was like, well, fine, we'll just do it on our own. So because Nintendo dumped Sony and Sony made their own, it put a nail in the coffin for Panasonic. And I guess in the end, Sony kind of won out on that, didn't they?
Well, I guess so.
Yeah.
But the thing about Panasonic, since I had worked for them, their beginning manufacturer, Konosuke Matsushita, started out with light bulbs after World War II, and he was trying to get his business going. And he was a really good guy, and he liked all of his workers. He was interested in making sure that they were like a family, one big extended family, which is not the same concept that most businesses have today. They look at you as a commodity. Can you be used? Can we squeeze you dry? Can we get anything more out of you? No? Bye.
Yeah. No, that's good too. That there's, I know that my mom worked. She just retired from State Farm, and the company that was when she got hired on to the company that they are today, it's the same thing. It was a family thing. We would go out and do the Trailblazers volleyball tournament for the Special Olympics and do Special Olympics things and all that, and they now it really is, so many of them have just become about like how much juice could we squeeze out of this lemon before we just toss it aside. But it's cool to hear that from Panasonic, because Nintendo was a lot like that too. Nintendo of all things started out as a trading card company. They just did toys and trading cards, and then they're like, hey, let's try this video game thing. And it was this
years later,
yeah,
Mario.
Yeah, and then same thing. It was, started in Japan under somebody that's like, let's just treat our people good and try some new stuff. So that's really cool.
Which is funny,
yeah,
because we had to do video game history in grad school because I'm Korean game development, but they had this landlord in New York for their building where they're housing all their arcade arcade cases, whatever. And the landlord was this fat Italian guy that was always come by giving him crap, so they made Mario out of this to kind of mock this guy. And then it blew up like super huge. Like, that's hilarious.
That is amazing.
It's a Mario.
Also, where is the rent?
Yes. If you don't have my money by a Friday, I take your thumbs. Something you'll never hear Mario say. So moving on with the game thing. So what would be your favorite of all time, video game-wise? Do you think?
That would be you, Chala.
It's just EQ2. I can't think of anything better that I like than that. I mean, Rusty keeps telling me it's a dead mule and I need to get off of it and I need to come to ESO and I need to do this and I need to do that. And I guess I'll hang on until it crashes and burns.
Yeah.
She did love EQ1 a whole lot. I will say that.
Yeah, well, and I think for a lot of our burnout too was the horrible roleplay community.
It was the toxic community. Yeah. It's not really the game, although what they did to the game was terrible. But
it hurts me.
Yeah, it was the toxic community that drove me away. I loved the gameplay. I still miss it sometimes. So, but the toxic community made it impossible.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, there is the few people that are left. There are a lot of them that are toxic.
You got cut off, hon.
You got cut out.
Sorry. What I was saying is the people that are left in the game, there are a lot of them who are toxic.
Yeah.
Toxic. You cut out.
Toxic.
It's all right. So do you do the rating and stuff in that still too? Did you say? I can't remember if that was before we started recording or after.
She was one of the most awesome folks when she would raid with us.
She's
Triton
still a raider, I
absolutely
believe.
adored her. He was just like, can we find her? Because she like saves our raid.
Clone her.
So yeah.
Okay, funny story on that, and she'll elaborate. We asked her to go on a Silver Circle raid because we were trying to do some low-level content. Now Mom here is in some big bad AB raiding guild, and I was rolling with her until I just got tired of raiding the drama and went full-time role player. And we asked her, I was like, hey, we've been knowing about it. I was like, hey, let me get my mom in here. We'll be fine. So we get her in there. These mobs were thrashing our little RP bus to death. She walked in, and as an enchanter, or what would they call the enchanter? Illusionist. She's like smoking it solo style. We're all like, oh my goodness, we're not worthy. And she's like cackling in the other room. This is one of my undergrad years, and I'm just like, my goodness. When your mom is smoking you in a raid, like this should be a horrible meme.
You're not
making
worthy.
you look bad.
Oh yeah, Triton was just like, I want her every raid. Oh my god, this poor man, because he was in raiding content and he did a lot of raiding, but he was absolutely determined to drag us role players kicking and screaming into raiding content. Poor bastard. And the best one here, and I'm sure Chala will find this really funny. We were in the middle of a raid. We had joined a raid guild that needed extra people. They were hardcore raiders, but they were patient and they were taking us into it. And one of them was this very nice young lady who tried very hard to be a healer. But this was back before they made it overly simple and you had to like build it. Remember those lovely days when you could actually construct your tune?
Mm-hmm.
And she sends me a whisper, because he had put her in another group instead of with me. Like she usually was my off healer. And she was like, they think I'm a healer. Sweetie, you are a healer. No, I'm DPS. No, you're not. It was one of those moments when I thought about Chala and I was like, we really need more of her and less of her. If we're ever going to do this.
That's very sweet of you. I remember that. It was a lot of fun. I went in there and helped y'all out, and I'm like, well, y'all need anything else?
Oh, yeah, we tossed her into the tank group because she was keeping all his power up. There you go. You get her.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was.
Your mom is so much cooler than mine, Strafae. I could say that because my mom never listens to anything I do.
She's a rare spawn mom.
That's definitely for sure, yeah.
Back in the day, that's the key. If you're Trekkie way back in the original series, probably going to have an awesome mom. I'm just saying.
Oh, okay. Well, here's something for you, Momma Direfere. Have you watched the new Discovery stuff? Star Trek?
Some of it, yeah.
What do you think on that? Out of curiosity.
I saw the first trailer of... Are we talking about Picard coming back?
No,
no,
not
Picard.
About the paid CBS.
The one
watching
that's
Discovery.
Like the prequel.
Oh no, I've only
more...
seen the intros for that. I haven't really watched it.
But how about Picard though? Like, does that not look freaking
that
awesome?
really does look intriguing, and I have a pet theory that girl who's trying to pull him in must be a love child between the Borg Queen and himself.
They did.
Oh,
they
yeah?
did show that flash of the Borg in there. You know,
They
when
did.
he was
Yeah.
Locutus.
Hey, they got 7 and 9 in it, man.
Yeah, and they brought in Jerry Ryan, she was one of the cool. You know, the sex appeal reason they brought her in originally. She ended up being one of like the coolest characters in all of Voyager.
I would have liked her a lot better without the cat suit. Okay, but other than that,
Right.
yes.
Yeah, and she was a great character. So yeah, I since you mentioned her being the Trekkie fan, I had to ask. But I will say though, the Discovery itself, it's kind of a prequel and kind of goes off the J.J. Abrams way of looking at it, at least style wise, is actually pretty good. I'm surprised. At first it feels like a little bit of an action packed movie. Actually, Sib came in and was like, "What movie are you watching?" It's like, it's a TV show. It just looks that good. But if I would say it's worth the $15 a month to like spend it and then plow through now 2 seasons of it, and then cancel it. That's what I did. Actually, the first season, I think I did their 7-day free trial, burned through it, and then canceled because it's only like 8 or 9 episodes. But if you're a Trek fan, I'd say it's worth a look. I'd have to at least go that far. You'll know right off with the first couple episodes if you're into it or not.
All right. Well, thanks for the info.
Yeah. But anybody have anything else to add or ask? Feel free. I mean, we're just kind of towards the end now, so
Just thank you for all
Yes,
of
thank
your help over the years and being there and for good laughs against Strafae and also just in general.
Real friends, you don't need enemies, guys. I'm telling you.
We really enjoyed when you would come on as my Momma Direfere. It was always a lot of fun.
yeah.
Oh yeah, that was always a lot of fun too. I always liked it because we would go at it, and he was like, runs away.
Yeah, it was so much fun. Vakarina absolutely adored Momma Direfere, so it was always a lot of fun. And you have been one of my inspirations, as you and one other person from EQ2, by the way, that also got published. That I follow him on Facebook, and I've always kept track of your books, and he fills me in on now that you got another book coming, and I keep waiting because I want to get it. So,
well, the
I'm
title
looking
of
forward
it
to
is
the next one.
Earthshine.
Good. I can't wait to read it. It's going to be awesome.
My favorite line from it is, if he does something truly admirable. And I'll say no more. I'll let Mom do it.
That was one of the lines. It seemed like it really impressed him when he read that. He's like, oh!
Oh, of course, it's good. That's how Red Gots talks. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, what it was... Oh, no, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're right. It was one last question. It's from Great Roop Dini. He was wondering what your favorite book is.
Of all time, right now, or when I was in school, what?
Probably, let's go with all time.
Gotta be Tolkien. Gotta be Tolkien.
I figured
Lord of the Rings.
Awesome. Yeah.
Figured that's what it would be. I mean, given that was the influence and all that, I thought that might be it. But just in case, it could be like, Cat in the Hat. I don't know. I mean, I'm being the literary giant that I am. That is obviously my favorite book. I mean, it is.
What about Green Eggs and Ham, bro? I mean, that one's solid.
No, I mean it's. I don't even want to go into the problems with Green Eggs and Ham. Just
right.
On a intellectual basis, it's just we don't have that kind of time. But no, thank you very much, Momma Direfere, for coming on here. That was really awesome.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, I'm glad
it was awesome.
Glad you were
so
willing
much.
to, and I'm glad to. If I have to say something nice, thanks for not raising a serial killer.
Yeah.
Hey.
Although he kind of is.
As far as we know.
Peely.
No, he's a good guy. I'm actually very
He's
glad to have
awesome.
known Strafae.
Yes.
Through
I meant
through
our
the
Peely.
internet.
He was a serial
Jazz,
killer.
just keep
Brand
digging that
Gods.
hole.
Well, he was.
No, you're right. But no, thank you very much for coming on and answering all our questions. And I honestly, I wish you nothing but the best of luck. I really hope this new
Thank
publisher and your next book when they come out. I'm actually, I've got a Kindle somewhere, so now I'm gonna have to download the book and read it, which is something I've not done. I'm a huge fan of, like I said, audiobooks because I don't have a lot of time to read. But
Well, you
I
may
will
get one
make
in
the
the
time.
mail for me. I'm just saying.
Well, yeah, but I don't want to I want to keep that one, so I'll read the other one. But
okay.
I don't want
Fair
to.
enough.
I want to. I want to keep that pristine, especially if it all goes well. I gotta. I could be like, yeah. You don't have.
Well,
this.
it is interesting that the marketing guy said that my book was in such demand that they actually spent an exorbitant amount to get a used one, and that one was one that I had given to a coworker, and he subsequently got a little miffed at me for one reason or another, and then he put it up there, and he figured he was going to sell it for $30 and see if he could get it, and apparently it must have sold. I thought that was kind of interesting, but
Well,
the
there you
guy
go.
said that there was a demand for my book, and I'm like, yeah, right.
It's a weird thing though, isn't that? When it sounds like you have a problem. A lot of people do where you don't know how to take a compliment.
That's been a lifelong thing.
Yeah.
I mean, people tell me I'm pretty, and I'm like, yeah, okay. What's your standard?
Yeah. It's I think I can understand. I mean, not that I've ever been told I'm pretty. That has never happened. But I've been told a lot of
Nor
four-letter
will it
words.
ever.
Yeah, I mean,
Dang.
from my wife's mouth to God's ear.
Hey, bro.
Never.
I think you're a pretty dude. It is what it is, right?
I mean, well,
Oh.
I've never passed off as Legolas. That's for sure.
That's
Hey,
nice.
well,
Good.
Strafae certainly
I-
has.
I
You
know
should
somebody-
have seen him at the Ren Fair calling from across the park going, Legolas!
Oh, I could only
Oh, Lord.
imagine.
The memories come flooding back.
Especially when you had the long hair. Yeah, see, me, I was more of a... If I was a Ren Fair and I was going to get recognized, it would probably be for something like Gimli.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean...
That would
just
work.
Yeah, it's just, I got the chub and the...
You had those sweet Jedi robes back in the day.
I
I saw
did,
pictures
yeah.
of those.
Yeah, I did. I was a good for a Jedi. More of a Jedi than the fantasy guy. But no, thank you again very much and for answering all the questions. And as I said,
Sure.
I really, really hope everything takes off for you because that would
Thank you.
be nothing but awesome. And then we, maybe even though we've only got one episode left of this show, eventually we'll be doing another one. So, yeah,
Can I just say real quick?
absolutely not.
I was looking on Amazon, and there's only 3 copies of the paperback
Yeah, it says
available.
used.
Yeah, and it's one's 13, or 2 of them are $13.50. The last one's $50.
There you go.
Awesome.
Out of, I mean, it's got a 4.5-star review, so
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I was looking at.
yeah, and the
I'm
one.
kind of the
It's so
specs
curious
person.
that she's got a stack of paperbacks here. Anyway,
Yeah.
Well, I really don't understand this because when I was talking to the marketing director, he said that they were overpricing it because they knew it was a good book and they wanted to make a lot of money, so they were being greedy. Because I said, shouldn't this be like a regular paperback price? Oh, no, this is a stock price. It's got to be this price. And
That doesn't sound like a very smart
No.
marketing at all.
No, I think they really shot themselves in the foot because had it been a little cheaper, people probably would have jumped on it and looked it over and had it. But what
And
can
then
I
do a
say?
second printing, and then yeah,
Exactly.
And then you get all your stuff. Yeah, it's
And now it's to a second printing, and I'm hoping the second printing will be much more successful. It's supposed to retail for $8.99 for what I was told, which is a much more reasonable price
Yeah.
for paperback.
Yeah.
yeah. Or
Even, I was going to say, even the reviews are good. I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm the spec person, like I said. I like to go and read all the reviews, and I mean, there's not a bad one. So,
no, even the lowest one is still like it's still better than I could ever do. It's yeah, that's right. It's easy to say. It's easy. It's as long. It's as long as you're given constructive criticism. It's one of the
Sure.
the ones that are always like, yeah, your writing's bad and you should feel bad. Okay, well, why? Because I'm on the internet. All right. Well,
Yeah.
your opinion is worth less than
it's
a fart.
not an easy thing for, it's not for everybody.
No.
And you really do have to have a good imagination, kind of a grasp of where you want to take it. And I think it's wonderful.
Well,
Yeah.
thank you, because a lot of people have an idea and they don't know how to push it to make it bloom and grow.
Yeah. Yeah, so okay, I'm sorry. I know we were going to go out, but I just thought of one more question. When it comes to the level, like you had said before, the level of detail, where do you think because one of the problems we come into with a lot of role players and things like that is
the brick texture.
right. Well, they're either that or that one's not so bad. The brick text is not terrible if you're writing a story. But one of the things it seems like a lot of writers starting out aren't willing to do is they get embarrassed, and so even though their mind is coming up with more detail, they lowball themselves, and then just instead of saying nods courteously, they just do nod. And just cut. They don't go into more detail, even though something might need more detail. What do you think? Kind of the way
I think they're
to come about
probably
that
cutting
is?
corners, or they already think because they understand it that everybody else does. And that's why I try to put a lot of detail in there so that I can put you in there so you feel like you're walking in the book too. You're just waiting for your turn to.
Yeah. Okay.
And I totally agree with that. I know he mentioned our daughter has wrote a book, and I've been reading her book and discussing it with her, and I told her just recently, you need to make people want to invest their time into this. Make them, because I told her, I was like, there's not enough meat on the bone. And so she was, she was like, oh, really? And I'm like, yeah. So, I think a lot of people don't realize that they've got to give you, like you said, you want to be able to walk with the character through the story.
Yeah, and just
And a lot of
because you
people
know what's
don't
going on
accomplish
in the head.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what's going on. You know the whole story in your own head, so you forget to put the details in to let the reader know, oh, yeah, by the way, this is something you should probably know, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you don't do that, then they're lost because then they go a couple of chapters and they're like, what was that exactly?
Did
Maybe I need to
I
go
have
back
to
and
do
reread.
that a lot. Yeah.
Did I
hate
skip
that.
a chapter? Yeah. Yeah. All right, sorry.
I did that a lot in Tolkien. I'd be like, what? Page. Oh, there it is.
But all right, well, cool. That's just something that popped in my head there real quick. But again, thank you very much for coming on.
Yes.
It's been awesome to get to meet you
Awesome.
and know you. I don't know. I can't really say anything more than that. It's just been really cool to meet you after all these. I've heard so much about you, and here you are.
Well, hopefully, if surviving does as well as I hope it does, then you'll have me back and we can talk about our.
I look forward to it. I really, really, like I said, nothing but the best, and I can't wait for that to happen because it will have to. If you haven't, don't remember, it's over on Amazon, Surviving the Waiting. You can get it on the e-reader or paperback. Janice Ayers is her name, or Momma Direfere for those that know her intimately as we do. But
I did post it. I posted the link that Strafae posted in the Twitch chat too.
yeah,
Oh, nice.
There you go.
I think Great Houdini asked for it, so
Yep.
I put it in there.
that'll work. So, well, I want to
Thank you again.
No, you're absolutely welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Awesome. Thank
But
you.
I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Remember, you can follow us over at twitch.tv/RPMMORadio, or subscribe, whatever. We are, of course, a podcast. You can find us on iTunes, Podbean, anywhere an Android podcast app is at, Spotify. We're basically everywhere. So with that, I want to thank everybody on my crew, Jazz, Sib, Strafae, Yunfei, Momma
Bye,
Direfield.
guys.
Once again,
Night,
thank
folks.
you very much.
Later, thank you.
Night, everybody.
And
Night.
You know how much he hates that. It's great. Anyway,
That's
bye.
all right. I'm used to it. I, of course, am Ash and Phoenix, and tune in next time when we'll go over why halflings will never be published because nothing they say is interesting. Next time on RPMMO Radio. Play on and keep the roleplay going. Music, as always, is provided by Husky by the Geek. Visit him at youtube.com/HuskyByTheGeek to hear all his great video game rock covers and original music.